Here we go, 7 o'clock.
All righty, Maureen.
Okay. Hey, everybody. It is Thursday night, the new night, new time, new night for the Redox 5. And I know you were expecting Alan Noble, but surprise, we're back. So you get us tonight. And it's a fantastic night because we're about to celebrate Independence Day. And
Mhm.
we're going to shower you with all sorts of information. And we have a fan favorite back tonight. But while we're getting set up, I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas. And the regulars on the show are Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas. Jim's our big money man, and Ann is our beautiful personal trainer and nutritionist. And of course, we have the illustrious Dr. Lee Osler, one of the 100 top dentists in the whole world, voted for by his peers, and author of several books on redox biochemistry, all to be found at redoxmatters.com. And, if you will, in the chat, I see you guys are already doing it. You're telling us who you are and where you're joining us from. And that's always a lot of fun. So we'll take a minute and say hi to a bunch of you. Illinois, New Zealand, Albuquerque, Little River, South Carolina, Australia, Bay Ridge, Baywidgee. I have no idea where that is. Anyway, you guys, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Cathey Painter. You guys have heard from her before. She's a naturopath out in Los Angeles, I think Hollywood area, if I'm not mistaken, Cathey. And she always regales us with incredible information. So we're going to have her go back over, because we have a lot of new people on here, kind of tell us how she got introduced to ASEA. It's kind of a funny little story, and some of her best stories. I love the one about the liver enzyme, so you can share that with us. And it's been a while, so tell us what your favorite products are, what you're seeing these days. So go ahead, Cathey, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, first, let me tell you how I was introduced. I live in Los Angeles, but my parents retired to Pinehurst, North Carolina, and I had flown back for their 60th wedding anniversary. And I was in my dad's home office, which is kind of big, and I tripped over a box that was in the middle of the office. And I opened it up. I saw the blue bottle, and I was like, "Dad, where did you get this?" Now, in the back of my mind, I knew something about it. I knew it was something special, but nobody had ever introduced it to me. And I said, "Dad," he said, "well, I'd gotten it from my friend Polk Dillon, and I haven't even started drinking it yet." So I literally ran to my computer, started researching, and I'm like, "Dad, I got to talk to your friend Polk Dillon." And the rest is history. Literally 3 weeks later, there was an event in Pinehurst where a lot of prominent distributors were speaking, and I got back on a plane, flew across the country because I needed to hear from a lot of these experts. And now I will also tell you, at the time I was introduced or stumbled upon it, my husband had an abnormal cell issue that had come back after being in remission for 10 years. But this time it had spread and was showing up in his bones. And he was working with a medical doctor, doing all those treatments, but it wasn't getting rid of the abnormal cells. And I just knew this was going to help him. I knew I'd been divinely guided. And I put him on it, and he was drinking twice the amount of the average person. 2.5 months after he started drinking it, the doctor says it's time for an in-depth scan. We go in, he gets the scan. Then the doctor says, "come in, I'll give the results." Well, we go in, and, of course we were nervous. And the doctor opens up the folder with the results, and he's just staring at them. And I was like, uh-oh. And then he just says, "well, this is interesting. There's no abnormal cells showing up in the bones." He could not articulate how in the world that had happened. But he'd also already made it clear he wasn't interested in learning about anything that was not a pharmaceutical drug. So I did not waste my time or my breath. Normally, I would share. Well, we were, of course, so happy. And my husband continued to drink over the next year. He felt great. He looked great. His numbers were great. And then the doctor says, "time for another in-depth scan." Well, this time we go in, and the doctor just blurts out, "you are a miracle patient. There's no abnormal cells showing up anywhere in the body." And that was about 2.5 years ago, and we are still in that same situation. And, I always tell people, I hope this helps you understand why I am so passionate about this, because I don't think my husband would maybe even be alive today if he didn't have these redox molecules. And I would never want somebody to suffer because they did not know about these redox molecules. I can also tell you that over the last 3.5, 4 years, I've met so many people with the same story. My husband's testimony is not rare. And that's such an amazing thing, amazing thing. And, so of course, is in my traditional naturopath business. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a naturopath. You can think of me as a health coach. The job of a traditional naturopath is really education. And so you get to take, when I work with somebody, you get to take this education, this knowledge, and do your due diligence and do with it what you like. But I can tell you, I've helped so many people. And I'll tell the liver story first, and then I've got a couple of new ones to share with you. Right after I started using this, I get a phone call from a woman in Portland, Oregon, and she says, Cathey, you don't know me, but your colleague suggested that I call you. I'm in a dire situation. My liver enzymes have jumped up to the 900s. Now, your liver enzymes are supposed to be between 10 and 25. That's the functional range. And she was working with a medical doctor doing all of their treatment. Enzymes were not even coming down by 1 point. She was working with a naturopath physician, spending thousands of dollars doing IV treatments, and her liver enzymes were not coming down by even 1 point. So some of my colleague friends just told her, call Cathey. Cathey does a lot of research. She might have something. And I said, yes, I do have something. So she was literally in a life or death situation. So I quickly, within a couple of days, ramped her up to drinking a half a bottle a day. 1 week later, she calls me in tears. Cathey, this is a miracle. My liver enzymes went down by 150 points. The next week, I got another text, another 150 points. And then every week after that, her liver enzymes went down between 100 and 125 points until they were back down to normal. Now, I want to point out something. At $33 a bottle, this was a bargain for her. A bargain. She was spending thousands of dollars on IV treatments that weren't helping. I mean, they were probably helping, but they weren't bringing the enzymes down at all. This is the power of redox molecules. Okay. If you follow me on Instagram, I didn't post this on TikTok because I was afraid of getting kicked off, but I did post it on Instagram, and I think I posted it on Facebook. I got a message on Facebook from a woman named Cece. And she had found me just on social media, didn't know me. And she had a son with, I'm trying to be compliant, severe spectrum issues. Now, I have to set up the story for you because, a lot of times I work with somebody and they come to me and they go, Cathey, I've done everything and I'm not getting results. Well, have you done redox molecules? No. They add in the redox molecules and that's when they get the real results. It's the missing link. Well, this woman was living in Houston at the time. She worked a full-time job. Her husband worked a full-time job, and her 3-year-old son was in daycare. And the daycare said, well, your son is missing 2 of those childhood injections, and if you don't go get them, we're going to kick you out. So she took him to the pediatrician, got the 2 injections. 4 days later, he no longer could speak, and he was banging his head against the wall all day long. She took him back to the doctor, and he said, no way did that injection cause that. She's like, but he was healthy before when I brought him in. And he said, it's genetic, and there's nothing that can be done. Well, thank goodness she didn't take no for an answer, and she did her own research, and she did find somebody to work with, and they put her on a very strict protocol. This child, 3 years old, in fact, Cece, the mom, had to quit her job because this child could not eat any processed food. If it came out of a box, a bag, a can, or the freezer, he wasn't eating it. Everything had to be pristine. He was on supplements to open up pathways. He was seeing a chiropractor every week. She spent thousands on a power plate to vibrate his body, jumping on a mini tramp. And she was doing, I don't know if you've heard of it, a chlorine dioxide protocol that has to be administered every single hour. She had been doing that for 2.5 years. The only improvement she saw was he could now speak single words, just a handful, and he was no longer banging his head against the wall. Well, she had remembered hearing something about redox, and then she found me. And she immediately started him on the redox molecules and was drinking twice a day. Within 2 weeks, now he's gone from 3 to 5.5 years old. In 2 weeks, he was able to start reading, and he was calmer. Even the chiropractor couldn't believe it. Well, she said, I'm ready to do what I call the flood the body protocol to see if I can get more improvement. So, she started giving him 2 ounces every hour. After the first day, all of a sudden, he was speaking in complete sentences. Mommy, I want to go outside. Mommy, I'm hungry. I mean, she just was on the floor, could not believe it. And then the second day, after drinking the molecules, for the first time in 2.5 years, he did not exhibit the obsessive compulsive disorder. She said that, he would just say Noah's Ark all day long, all day long. That was his obsession. For the first time, not saying it at all. And then when the little sister grabbed his toy away, in amazement, she watched him regulate his own emotions. Normally, he would have been on the floor screaming and crying, but instead, he just let it go. I mean, I still, it brings tears to my eyes because I know what these parents have gone through. I've got so many friends who have been in that situation. And now she's got real hope that he's going to make a full recovery. And it's the
And
power.
right about here, Dr. Osler, can you go ahead and give the big old medical disclaimer?
Yeah.
What we're hearing is life-changing,
Yeah.
and transforming. Yeah. And Lee, can you go ahead and throw that in, please?
Yeah, Kathy, this is amazing. You were saying you couldn't almost not cry, just thinking
Yeah.
about it. I can see it in your face and in your emotions. And I almost got goosebumps listening to it because that's profound.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important disclaimer that we do make. We,
Yeah.
as a company, we each are associates, distributor associates of the company ASEA Global. The product that we're talking about, the blue bottle, is a supplement that is a cellular health support supplement. And as a supplement, it does not treat, diagnose, or cure. And so we are not in that business of medical intervention in that regard. We're supporting the body's insight ability
Right.
to heal itself, regulate itself, and to do all the work. We're just here to support it. And I like to think of it as we're the shepherds that change the pasture.
Right.
And so we can't force the body, but we just want to change the cellular environment so that it can do what it was designed to do.
Right.
Maureen,
Okay.
you've been around for how long?
It'll be
Oh.
13 years at Thanksgiving.
So are these stories kind of really out of bounds and we've never heard kind of stories like this before? Or is this sort of common?
Well, I love what Kathy said, that it's the missing link, because that's exactly what I thought. I'm a traditional, I'm a Western trained medical doctor. And for years treated patients without, it never seemed like they got better, and at a certain point in time, I was like, wow, I'm not sure that what I'm doing. Now, as an anesthesiologist, everybody really appreciates being put to sleep for their surgery and waking back up. And so I was really good at that.
Yeah.
But with pain, treating chronic pain syndromes, it just seemed like you could get people to a certain level so that they could maybe enjoy their life, but you never really cured them. And, I was like, there's got to be something, because the body has innate wisdom. It can heal itself, but it has to have the proper tools.
Mhm.
And, I went on a journey. And so when I found ASEA all those years ago, now I was taken with the fact that you immediately started looking for it. were totally on board. Whereas I looked at the back and I was like, salt water, what will they come up with next? Paying for air. I just thought it was the biggest scam. But, once my husband, who had been sick, got his health back, I thought to myself, as a physician, if we don't know about this, the people on the street don't know about it. And just like Kathy said, I made it my mission to educate people, let them know that it was an option, let them know that it was there. And what they did with that information was totally up to them. But when you give the body what it needs, the body can heal itself. And so we hear about people benefiting from these in some really miraculous ways. I mean, we almost start taking it for granted. Even people in my family have had miraculous benefit from these products. Even me, I burned myself the other day. Whoops. I think I can say that. And I used the Renew right afterwards, and no lasting damage. Just unbelievable. So yeah, we hear this all the time, but it's really the body that is, really a miracle. We're just using it.
I was talking with one of our guys we work with up in Wisconsin, Levi, just in case you're listening. This is a little bit of your story. He's an Amish gentleman up in Wisconsin, and he's a chiropractor type within the Amish community. Just a wonderful young man. And he said something that really stuck with me, these 4 words: if we just knew. If we just knew what was going to happen. So he was around with a bunch of uncles, and they're 10 years ago or so, and a lot of them were having prostate issues. And so it was just like, if only I knew. And so he is very health conscious. So he is doing a lot of different things, being proactive. Kathy, how do you talk to people about that? I mean, you maybe see a lot of people that have issues that come to you, but what about the people out here that go, you guys, come on. I don't need that stuff. I'm healthy.
Well,
What do you say? And then I want to hear that from Maureen and Dr. Osler.
Okay. Well, I will say, as somebody that works with people that come to me that have tried everything and they're in life or death situations, I promise it's better to work on prevention. It's always the most cost-effective way to go. And I always say, may you never know what you have prevented. And, that's the category, that's the best category to be in. And we only get one body to live in, and we've really got to take care of it. Or you may end up in a situation where you have to recover your health. And number one, it's going to cost you a lot of money, possibly. It's going to cause a lot of stress. You may not be able to work. And if you can avoid that, that's the best situation to be in. And, it's funny too. I just sent out another newsletter about freedom, celebrating 4th of July. And, if you don't have your health, you certainly have lost a lot of freedom if you don't have your health. And it's funny because somebody that I had talked to, but no, not now. Well, now she's got a health issue. And now she's coming back to me because she's lost, her health. And so, we work with everybody where they're at. Not everybody can wrap their head around the fact that they need to, invest in their health. But a lot of people do. I think over the last 5 years, a lot of people have woken up and gone, wait a minute, I gotta do something. And of course, we all know the older you get, the more you become very aware of what a gift health is. So.
Absolutely. I think Maureen's getting ready to get attacked by a cat. Lee, what would
I was giving him
that evil look over to I know it's not to your husband, so I'm pretty sure that was to the kitty cat. Maureen, how would you answer that? What do you say? You're a traditional MD. What do you say to the people that say, I don't need this stuff?
I don't try to convince anybody. And if I really feel strongly about it and it's somebody that I really love and care about, I may pressure them a little bit and say, you need to trust me. I love you. This is why I'm sharing it. But I think about the story of my brother, the oldest of my 3 brothers, very healthy. He's a bodybuilder, vegan, vegetarian, works out all the time, great shape. He was not taking the ASEA products, the Redox products, because he was so healthy.
Mhm.
Everything he ate was organic, until until he got that diagnosis having to do with his prostate. And he was like,
Mm.
how in the world did this
Right.
happen? And I said, well, you own your own company and it's a lot of stress. And stress is a killer. We
Yeah.
talk about stress, we talk about inflammation. And so he got on the products. Now he did go, because I actually started my medical career in as a urologist. So did a number of years of that before I switched into anesthesia. So I recommended that he go the traditional route, but he was drinking ASEA like it was his job up to
Mm.
his surgery and afterwards. And the guy had an amazing course during it. He popped back like nothing, disease free, living
Mm.
his life and, doing great. So, I use that when people say, hey, I'm so healthy. And I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're healthy, but you're still dealing with all the toxins in the environment and the
Right.
pollution and the herbicides and the glyphosate and everything else that the rest of us, no matter how good you do, your mitochondria are taking a hit on a daily basis. And that's where these molecules are made. And if anybody shows signs of aging, my brother looks like he's 20 years younger than his stated age, but if they are showing signs of aging, they're taking a hit, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, like Kathy said, may you never know what you're preventing.
Yeah, Rebecca
Yeah.
Weens was well known for saying that.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Osler, what about you? Then I want to hear Ann as well.
I always come at this a little bit from the nerdy side. I love the science and I love to see it justified. But if you think of the body as a machine, we go through wear and tear, and we have metabolic processes that create waste products, and we have to deal with those. And inflammation is probably at the center of almost all disease. It's hard to think of any diseases that don't have an inflammatory component or an inflammatory burden associated with them, primary or secondary. And so the question for me has always been, well, does what we have impact inflammation? Some people think it's kind of like some magic, or I don't know, something out of left field, that because we're so ingrained into the medical model of intervention, we make assumptions that the bad food and the bad air and the bad water that we drink is going to not have an effect. And then as it bioaccumulates and as the cumulative effects of that impact us, we start not working so well. That's not even acknowledging the genetic influences and factors that predispose us to different things. And so our systems wear out, and what we have is with ASEA is a way of mimicking. Maureen talked about the mitochondria. We have a way of mimicking the functionality of the mitochondria, of doing things with the mitochondria to the mitochondria that affect the pathway genes that turn on our survival and our longevity processes. And so if we reverse engineer it, it's like what we want is, I'm not personally after longevity so much as I am health span. Whatever my longevity turns out to be, I'd like to be healthy right up to the last day if possible, or some reasonable, facsimile of that. Rather than to start dying 16 years before that date and have to be propped up with surgeries and drugs and so forth. And we're not bad mouthing all that. There's nobody here that's going to say that all of that's bad, evil, undesirable. It's like we need it because we didn't pay attention early on. And so what we're saying is that if we come back and we pay attention again to the basic, we call them redox lifestyle principles of redox biology. When we obey those principles, then we're going to have good things result as a consequence, and which is what we call good health, which is more than just the absence of symptoms. I can make your symptoms go away with a pill or a surgery or something like that, but we're talking further upstream, something more foundational than that. You correct that, and then everything downstream from that is going to get better.
Wouldn't you say it was the beginning of the stream, that where we are, not just it's the fountainhead, right?
Well, I call redox signaling molecules the deepest cell signaling molecules ever discovered. You know, things happen with a signal, and by signal, we're talking about the movement of electrons. It's the electrostatic properties of proteins and cell membranes and molecules as they interact with each other. If you could shrink down to the microscopic submarine size and float around in there, you're going to see, you know, a different world of molecules interacting with each other. They're in a soup, you know, inside the cell. It's just a milieu of everything mashing. It's like a mosh pit. You know, everything's working together. And when we change the conditions or the circumstances of the cell, we favor the good processes occurring. And that's kind of again, the whole point of lifestyle is we want to favor the cell processes that promote healing and promote regeneration, that promote recovery, that promote DNA repair, that promote the resistance to oxidative damage and inflammation, and on and on. That's the way that was designed.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a second after, because Anne, when we started this 10 years ago, I had my back issues and I was addicted to pain meds and all that. But Anne was kind of like, I don't need to do it. I'm healthy. And then go ahead and tell the rest of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is such a great subject, and I've loved everything I've heard. I like teaching prevention. It is cheaper to focus on that than it is to be sick. If you really, you know, fine tune the expenses that are involved in some serious kind of issues. You know, people are, you know, foreclosing on homes just to be able to pay for certain kind of treatment. So if you can stay healthy, the redox molecules are just going to make you healthier. Dr. Gardner used to say that if you're already healthy and you're on the molecules, you're just going to get healthier. And if you're not where you need to be optimal health, then start so you can get, as Lee described, the signaling that allows your body to heal itself. And so, you know, I've taught nutrition for 20 years, got a degree in nutrition science 11 years ago. And that topic, you know, there's so many opinions, there's so many things out there, but you have to metabolize, you know, what you take in. You have to wonder if certain things you're going to be allergic to. With redox signaling molecules being native to your body, you don't have to worry about the amount that you could consider taking. Maybe consider increasing it so you can see results quicker. And then we have the fabulous, you know, topical that allows the body to heal through the skin. And I'm eager to hear, as Jim asked at the beginning, is Cathey's favorite products and some gold stories. And
well, but I want you to back up a little bit because you didn't. She didn't want to do it because she was healthy.
Well,
but then the big C runs in her family, so that's kind of where I was.
Yeah, well, yeah, my German side, yes, there's definitely the big C on multiple. Lost my mom almost 12 years ago. So yes, when Jim started, I of course thought, well, we need to get him going so he can start seeing some changes since the back surgeries. But on paper, it may have looked like I didn't necessarily need them, but then I learned. I did the gel for 2 days and saw a 2-year dead nail fungus get better. I saw cracked heels get better just by the topical. Then I started immediately on the liquid, and workouts got stronger, better, faster. So I've been on both ever since. But yeah, preventing, you know, we're not claiming to prevent, cure, or treat, but if you can get your body to where it heals itself, and your body allows you to not get the ABC condition that maybe mom got, great. So, I mean, that's where I was is, okay, yeah, Jim might need more, but I mean, I'm taking as much as Jim. We take 12 ounces a day, but we're extremely active people. So hopefully that answered a little bit. Yeah.
So we talked about stress, lifestyle. How important is lifestyle, Cathey, when people come in to see you and they've got all these health issues? I mean, do you dig into stressors? I mean, what else is going on that maybe is causing some of this?
Absolutely. stress is a huge contributing factor. And I'm going to tell you, money stress is huge, absolutely huge. And so when you're stressed, your body's producing a lot of cortisol, and then cortisol prevents your body from repairing, especially at night while you're asleep. So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. Now, I'm going to tell you, drinking the redox molecules, it does help you deal with that. But if you are in a situation that's stressing you out, you can't keep fueling the stress. You've got to figure out a way to mitigate that and deal with that. And if it means, a different job, or, I also always love that, if somebody's dealing with money stress, hey, you can not only drink these molecules and it help with your physical health, it can also help you with your financial health. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because like you said, when somebody's got to recover their health, it can cost them more. And so, but we've got a solution for that as well. So yeah, absolutely. And I always say, if your house is on fire, you call the fire department and they're trying to put the fire out, but somebody's on the other end of the house starting the fire over and over again, you're going to go round and round and round. And the same with your health. You've got to stop the things that, got you in the situation in the first place, and you've got to pay attention to nutrition. And that's where our nutraceuticals come into play. Now, in today's world, our food supply is so deficient in nutrients. I personally no longer believe that you can get enough nutrition just by eating a pristine diet. I think you've got to supplement. And, the ASEA Via, those are food-based nutraceuticals, and they are the highest quality available on the market today. So I always recommend that. And, another thing, you probably in the news heard about how there's a real push to get seed oils out. And seed oils are very hard to avoid, because if you go out to dinner at all, you're getting seed oils, and those are your omega-6s. And if you don't balance them with your omega-3s, then you're going to get inflammation. And that's where our omega product, supplement comes in. And it's so well designed with a wide range of omegas. They don't come from just one source. They've got the sea buckthorn and I believe it's got the krill. And anyway, I was very impressed at the wide. Do what?
Pomegranate.
Yeah, pomegranate. It's got a wide variety. I'm telling you guys, I take 2 of those twice a day. I do, because I know how important it is to balance the omega-6. So, yeah.
So, Maureen, with your vast training in nutrition at medical school, correct? Didn't you have a ton of that? So how
one
important?
day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but with what you're doing now, how important is nutrition? Because I'm always telling folks, you have your health pyramid. Redox is the basis; it's the foundation for all of it. But yet, you still have things that are above that. And Russell, again, we'll talk about that next week. But how important is it for proper supplementation of nutrition to allow the body to heal itself?
Oh, it's huge. It's the building blocks. The one thing that our product is lacking is any nutrition, right? So you have to have those proteins and oils and fats and whatnot in order to build your cells and build your muscles and all of that. And, it's interesting because when they came out with the nutritional products, I was like, okay, this is for the gummy bear people, who are going to Costco or one of the big box stores and getting the Flintstone vitamins or whatever. Because even though I did not have a lot of nutritional training when I was in medical school, we had one day where we looked at our own diet, and I was eating donuts because that was back when we were dissecting cadavers. So I wasn't eating any protein at all. And it was just terrible. But in any case, I went on to learn about nutrition because I thought it was important, and I didn't know that much about it. So I was a little bit of a snob. I think a lot of medical people become kind of supplement snobs. And so I kind of turned up my nose until I did a deep dive in our products, and they are really high quality very good products. Now they're general so that anybody can take them. Some people may need more specific things, but you can put anybody on these whole food products and it's really going to benefit them. So I'm a big believer, and I love to take these products. I love to share them with other people because Kathy's right. Our soil's depleted. All you have to do is go to another country. I'll never forget when I was in Japan, I turned to my husband, I said, "Did you know that lettuce had a taste to it?" I thought it was just there to carry, the dressing, right? I mean, but when you go to other countries, their food tastes very different.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So, Lee, the question I keep asking, because there's so many people out there that may not have been doing things correctly for however long. And with the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever it's been, I think a lot of people are waking up. Is it ever too late to start getting on a healthy track? Is it ever too late to add these things into who you are?
Oh, never. I'll segue with what was just discussed regarding nutrition or lack of nutrition, in our society today, with the idea that it's, to me, it's a concept that I call redox clean. Part of the detox mechanisms in the cell are to get rid of the bad things that happen in the metabolism of our physiology, as well as the things that we consume or ingest, from our environment, including our food. And Kathy made allusions to the kind of some of the new trends in nutrition of getting things out of. At least if we let her kind of develop that thing, she would have been saying, notice all of the messaging that's coming out now today about cleaning up our food supply, cleaning up things like that. And it's a wonderful, in my opinion, it's a wonderful step forward. The preservatives and the chemicals and the flavorings and the colorants and all the things that are added to food that we eat today, or that's commonly in the grocery store and in our restaurants, they make us sick because they pollute us, and they poison or they toxify the metabolic pathways. And so, and we get addicted to it. And so we want to eat more. It doesn't satiate us. And so this is all part of the nutrition equation to go out and say, well, if this is true, I need to shop different. I need to eat different. I need to cook different. I need to eliminate some things. But one of the things coming in through the back door is signaling molecules have the ability to turn on liver detoxification pathways, which is something Kathy was talking about earlier. And when we say, well, how does that happen? Well, when cells work better, they take the garbage out better. And when they don't work better, then they store the garbage. And then we have to put up with it. And then we're toxic and things don't run smoothly. And we wind up downstream with health issues. And so all of this is a very synergistic conversation about go eat right, clean up your diet, start exercising, get your lifestyle properly regulated, and then do things with supplements and with proper nutrition that gets these pathways working right so you can take out the garbage and detoxify things. That is the other side of the nutrition coin. It's not just about building blocks. You obviously need building blocks. We need the construction workers there that can take out the garbage and deal with the utilities of the cell, because if we don't, they back up on us and now we're toxic and we're brain fogged and we can't respond well to threats that come along our way and we get sick.
Yeah.
So it's not too.
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
It's never too late. You just get going.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Kathy, what would you say to that?
I'd say 100%. It's never too late. In naturopath school, we learn there's two causes of dis-ease. It's deficiencies, which could be nutritional, it can be sleep, exercise, redox molecules, we know, and then toxicity. And so, we've got this amazing tool here with the redox molecules. I'm glad, Lee, that you brought up the fact, when this woman that came to me that had her liver enzymes so high and nothing she was doing was bringing those liver enzymes down. I mean, we know the redox molecules open up the detox pathways, including, for the liver. So 100%, I believe, I believe that, you can turn around every health issue. It's never too late because I've seen amazing things. So 100%. I mean, I'm working with somebody right now who's 80 and getting better. So
Awesome.
I'm not
yeah.
sure if we've had a complete descriptor of I'm coming in to see you, Cathey, and how would you explain to me, non-medical, what is this stuff? What are these? What is that pool water stuff?
Okay. Well, here's how I explain it. I explain it that every cell in your body manufactures redox molecules, but due to age and toxicity and stress, we all become deficient. And these molecules have two main jobs. They power your mitochondria. And, if your mitochondria doesn't get powered, you end up with low cellular energy. And even Dr. Mercola says low cellular energy is the beginning of all health issues. Now, the other job that these molecules do is they are used for redox cellular signaling. This is how our cells communicate. When you've got optimal cellular communication, the moment something goes wrong in the body, the cells communicate with each other, and that communication is given to the immune system. And then and only then can the immune system fix the problem. It cannot fix what it doesn't know about. So that's kind of my very quick explanation of what these molecules do. Now, I also explain, I know you're deficient because of your age. I know you're deficient because you've got an issue that your immune system hasn't taken care of. And so now I also have to tell you this. 15 years ago, I was at a world famous medical clinic in Santa Barbara with a loved one. And the very first thing this doctor said, he said, well, before we determine a course of treatment, we have to determine if your immune system even recognizes you have a problem. I had never heard that before. Of course, now I understand. I understand. If your immune system doesn't recognize you have a problem, it's because your cellular signaling is not optimal. Not optimal. So, yeah.
Cool. Maureen, Cathey brought up a little bit of the business. You were approached by someone a number of years ago trying to explain to you our business model. How nice were you to that person, and how do you explain that today to someone? Why? Again, you're a doctor. I mean, Lee, you're a dentist. Cathey, you're a naturopath. I mean, here we come along with a saltwater smells like pool water from Salt Lake City that's a dietary supplement that we can't make any claims that it does anything. You got to be nuts. But first, how do you deal with people that go to Google and they say it's a scam? What do you say to them?
I say, I know.
Don't yell at them. Just be nice.
No, I was like, I know exactly what you mean. I thought that too. I had never heard the verbiage redox signaling molecules when I was first introduced to it. It's made from salt water from Salt Lake City, which sounds wrong, like you're going to pay for it. I live on an island surrounded by salt water. I was like, oh, what am I even doing? I didn't, I signed up as an associate to get the deal, but I wasn't going to tell anybody because it sounded so stupid. I did not want people to know that I was actually drinking this stuff until my husband and a few other people that I offhandedly mentioned it to, kind of like, hey, you've tried everything. You might as well try this. If you don't like it, you can get your money back and I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And they had miraculous results. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this stuff?
Did you ever think it was placebo? Did you ever think, oh, that was just coincidental?
Oh,
Did you
of
ever?
course. Initially, I thought it was, well, I saw some physical things. My girlfriend Joan, I tell that story all the time about, she had a condition. She's a retired ER nurse. She's up in Washington State. I'm down in Texas. She's telling me she had surgery on her wrist a year before. And she was a year later having excruciating discomfort. Her hand was swelling up. It was turning colors. Her nails, she had nail changes. all sorts of things that kind of send off alarms for pain doctors. And I was like, gosh, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. You need to get to a pain clinic. You need a specific block for a diagnosis. But in the meantime, this was doctor to nurse. I'm using this stuff. I don't know what it is and I don't know how it works, but you've tried everything else. You might as well try it. And if you don't like it, you can get your money back. And I don't care. 2 weeks later, my sponsor, Terry Latham, called and said, your friend Joan signed up. I said, Joan, who? He said, your friend up in Washington. She had an amazing response to the product, to the point that this is something extremely difficult to deal with in chronic pain. And I'm going to try to stay compliant here. And I was like, no way, no way, no way. But yep, it took care of it. I mean, she had the swelling went down. She could make a fist. She could write with her hand again. She slept through the night. Her husband said she hadn't looked that good in months. And she was like, I'm telling everybody about this.
So with your training, with your background, you're going, there's just no way. Then that could not be a placebo. And she did nothing else.
Right. She had physical evidence that, made sense to me, things that I would look at, if I was treating somebody. And then I'll tell you what really gets you is when your pets respond. There is no placebo in animals. They're not trying to please you by having an effect. They can't talk themselves into something. So when they have, something that you can see, it's pretty amazing. I got to tell you, I was just on a team call today. It's all about sick chickens, and I was like, all I could think about was KFC. But, these people were getting their chickens healthy again with these products. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I know my cats and my dogs have benefited greatly. So yeah, but you had also asked about the business side of it.
Right.
No, I was not nice the first time. It was actually another doctor who brought it to me. Now, this is years ago. And, he said, and network marketing has a bad rap. I'm just going to say that right up front because of the way people approach you with their businesses and their business opportunity. And, you
Right.
get somebody, who you knew from high school who, whatever. And suddenly they're coming to you saying, we can make $1 million and drive, Bentleys and have yachts. And you're like, what? No. I mean, this company is so different. Number one, we're a biotech company, a research and development company that uses network marketing as our distribution and marketing arm. So, and why is that? Because you have to have somebody who cares to educate you about what the products are and how they work and follow up with you to make sure you're having the best possible response. So it's actually a beautiful thing here. And even though I came in kicking and screaming from the network marketing part and saying, I'm not going to a meeting, I'm not learning a secret handshake, none of that jazz. Y'all have replaced my medical income. I mean, I couldn't be more thrilled. I love my life. I'm having a blast. And, Kathy can probably tell you this too. She's still in practice, but y'all, I help people every day and thousands of them. And all I'm doing is teaching people and empowering them to take care of their own health. And it's very liberating and it's very gratifying.
Yeah.
And that's what we call the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's global. Kathy, what did you think? And I'm going to get to Lee because I know his wonderful story. Did you have an aversion? Did you have any skeletons in your closet that scared you? You go boo, boo, boo.
No.
Did you have nothing? Did you have any negative feelings about it?
I love the network marketing model. And, there are in every type of distribution, whether it's pharmaceutical drugs or, the food supply or network marketing. Yeah, there's some bad actors, but I'm not going to negate the whole, caboodle just off of that, and I knew this product was amazing and I wasn't going to miss out myself. And as a traditional naturopath, I'm always looking for tools. That's what people come to me for. They want to know, what can I do? So this makes me look really good. Really good. Really good,
So you had done networking before, I assume.
I had dabbled in it. And
what makes this different? What makes this one besides
Well,
the technology and the people and the corporate. I mean,
right. Well,
everything. I mean,
it's really everything. First of all, you've got a product that has zero competition that
yeah.
is benefits every single person, you know. That's number one. And then number two is it's the it's the people that not only run the company, but the people that join the company. It is a caliber of
Mm.
quality of people that I want to be around. I want to be in business with. I want to be a part of. I've never really seen anything like it, ever, ever. The integrity of this company is the highest that I've ever seen in my entire life of anything that I've ever been a part of. Whether it's, you know, a lot of people don't know my first career, I worked in television. I was a writer and producer, and I worked on a number of shows, and then, you know, retired from that and had my children, and then, you know, went back to school and became a traditional naturopath. But I've been exposed to a lot in my lifetime, and so to say that is you know, it mean it's a lot. It's a lot.
I had a quick
But-
question. Your dad, obviously, you stumbled in it in his home. What kind of amazing story, you know, maybe you could share real quick about his journey since he
Well,
started.
that's a whole different story. My father is so skeptical. My dad is so skeptical. Um, he doesn't listen to me at all, at all. And it's one of those things that, you know, this is what my mother, when I became a traditional naturopath, I wanted to help everybody. And my mom's like, Kathy, you can't save everybody. You can only help those who are open-minded enough to receive it. And that's the situation with my dad. Not open-minded enough to receive it. It's really too bad. Really too bad. So, yeah.
But you found ASEA because of it, so that's neat.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, he had bought some from Polk and hadn't even started to drink it yet. And so yeah, yeah.
Isn't that amazing how we hear about it? Lee, what about you? Go
It's
ahead.
crazy.
This does help brain cells, but it doesn't open them.
Yeah, got to be open-minded. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I've got something I would say about can't fix stupid, but I guess I just said
I
it.
know. I know.
Lee, what about your journey? Why are you doing this? Why did you write what, 5 books
Yep.
now? I mean, was it just out of curiosity, or did you have to fight some demon that you have inside of you? I think it's called a chicken bone.
It's actually brain damage.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the signaling molecules haven't fixed that, but I just have a really strong desire to know how mechanisms of action, and I want to know that it's legitimate. I want to know that this is really founded. We have a lot of people come at us, especially from the medical professional community, you know, saying, well, show me the trials, show me the studies. I want to see the RCTs and the double blind, this, that. And it's like, well, they don't understand the nature of what this is, how it's marketed, or the biotech origins of, you know, of its origin. And so I needed to go into the primary research into PubMed. And, you know, for me, I had to pull, I don't know, it's probably been several thousands of studies together to kind of see where this is going and what it's about. And
Yeah, but there was a reason you did that.
well, it started with my wife.
Right.
We sat in a doctor's office. She's 30, 40 years into this, some really tough sledding in her life, health-wise. And she was plateauing, and I complained, and he said, well, I think you should get on redox signaling. And I said, what is that? And he said, just Google it and get some.
Yeah.
I said, but what is it? And he goes, just Google it. Well, he wasn't involved at the time. He just heard about it. But that kind of tells you kind of how maybe far down the rabbit hole my wife was with her health. He was scratching his brain cells trying to figure out what to do. Well, so we got some. I found some. I had no clue what this company was or what this was about. I did a search. I found a site, and we ordered some from a lady somewhere in Utah. And within about 48 hours, it was like flipping a switch. It was demonstrably different, and that really got my attention. And that's when I really dove in. I said, I need to understand this. I think I happened to discover, I was the president of the American Academy for Oral Systemic Health, and we were having our annual scientific session in Vegas. And it was that following Friday that we were going to be there. And this happened with my wife. And separate to that, I wasn't the program chair, so I got online to see who was speaking and who the exhibitors were at this meeting. So I didn't show up and embarrass myself because my fingerprints are all over this academy. And I saw that ASEA was one of the exhibitors. And I was like, holy cow, what is this? It's like, how come I didn't know about this? They're coming to my meeting and this happened to my wife. And anyway, Maureen's contact information was on the exhibitor. So I sent her an email and I go, what is this stuff? I said, it's like, this is really crazy. This just happened. I can't wait till Friday to hear the rest of the story. And she goes, I won't be there. I'm in London because my husband's getting an award at a medical place for, I don't know, cloning pig lung cells on the space station or something like that, or the shuttle. And I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. So anyway, I showed up and met with other physicians there and kind of got the scoop, and Maureen and I spent some time together. That's how I got into this. It's like I kind of came kind of through a side door. I approached Maureen because we had this chance, quote unquote, chance experience with it. And then I started using it. It took a while. It was, I felt better and marginally, but I'm a pretty healthy guy. But I did notice that, I was sleeping better and sharper. And then 18 months later, I doubled up and found that all of my back discomfort was basically gone. And so, I mean, I've had my own experiences with that. And so those are the groundings that I fall back on, because those are all emotional experiences. We can get into the intellect and dissect brain cells and gene pathways all we want, but that's just kind of the academic side. But for me, I had to know that it was legit.
That's great.
So, Kathy, couple of minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, we heard this last week. Actually, I wanted to get Maureen's response. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but some people, they have such an aversion to talking to people, and they're more concerned about what people will think of them. And if I share something that's, oh my God, it's one of those things, what are they going to think of me? I don't care anymore. What are your thoughts?
Well,
we owe it to people. If you're a human and you care about humanity, you have to share this with other people.
Well, that's where I come from it at. It's like, I'm here to share this with you. You get to take this information and do with it what you will. But I want to be able to sleep at night knowing that I shared this with you. And that's really the way I come at it. The door is always open. If you say no now, the door's always open. But I don't have any problems, because I know that what I have on my hands has helped so many people. I know it can help everybody. And it's funny. Some of you may follow me on TikTok or Instagram, but I go live on TikTok a lot. And I always say, if you are hearing about redox molecules for the first time, I want you to understand how lucky and blessed you are. Stick around, keep an open mind, because if I've learned anything as a traditional naturopath, if you are closed-minded, you might miss out on the very thing that can help you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maureen, what would you say to that? Because I don't know if you dealt with that. A lot of people, I don't know, what do they think of you for doing this? Do you really care?
Oh gosh, some of my friends offered me jobs. They were like, "Hey, do you need a new career? Do you need a salary?" And I was like, "No."
You're that desperate to do that thing.
Yeah, they're like, "What is wrong?" To this day, a lot of my friends who are physicians are on the products, but I also make it because there's a mindset, right? And So I tell people you don't have to participate in the network marketing part of it, but the only place you can get these products is from this company. So you can just share it with your patient. And I tell them, your patient's job is to get better. Sure, Kathy feels this way too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never going to talk to somebody who has a health challenge about the business opportunity unless it's a financial issue where they can't afford the product. And I'll say, excuse me, there are ways for us to help you make money or get thank you checks from the company. So then I will bring it up. Because let me tell you what, even when I was treating patients traditionally, what often kept people from getting the best results was their finances, that they couldn't often afford a lot of things that were necessary for their health. And that's heartbreaking, you guys. It really is. And so the fact that we can, and just like Kathy said, this is a big stressor, we can take care of that. We can help them with that aspect of it too, if they're willing to reach out, if they're someone who will share good news. And that's what I ask them. If you get a good response from this, are you open to sharing good news with other people? Most people.
Maureen, if you don't mind, real quick, I know you love going beyond the 8 o'clock, but if you're going to approach someone new, how would you approach non-medical? What would you kind of say to someone?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share. I teach it to my team too. I call it permission marketing. I will say to them, if I knew of something, regardless of what their challenge was, if I know they have a kid going to college and they're struggling with finances, if they have a health challenge, if they have an athletic challenge, anything, whatever it is, I will say to them, if I knew of something that might help you, are you open to learning about it? And if they say no, I honor that. It's not for everybody all the time. Like I said before, if it's a family member or somebody that I love and I care about and they've got a really big challenge, I'm going to say, I need for you to listen to me. I need for you to hear me because I love you and I care about you and I care about what's happening to you. And you need to know this. And so I'll be a little bit more forceful in that environment, but not normally. It's all permission. And I honor people. I may swing back around and say, because people's lives change, things happen, they have different circumstances. So, like Kathy said, I leave that door open, but I ask permission before I share. What I find is too many people, they're afraid of having the conversation. And so, either they'll start sending stuff out to people, see if anything sticks to the wall. I don't build my business that way. I care about people and I care about what they're going through. And all I'm doing is offering a solution to a problem.
So reiterate, you're a doctor, I'm not. I don't have to be a doctor to do this. It's just sharing it with passion. You have to have absolute knowledge that what we have is real. Go to realredoxresults.com and watch 1 or 2 or 3 testimonials a day. If that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Get back to the one that brought you on the call. But you don't have to be a doctor, a dentist, or a naturopath. You can be an ex-athlete, an ex-stockbroker, and she's medical as well, pretty much. Just have a heart.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the products our flagship products are 100% non-toxic. Go ahead, share them with people. Yeah, the fact that what I want you to take home is that a doctor, a dentist, and a naturopath all believe in these products and all think they're worthwhile. That should give it credibility. That should make it valuable. But absolutely, you don't need to. But you can point to us. You can say,
and you can actually invite them to come and watch the shows.
Yep.
Every Thursday night. It'll either be us and then once a month in August, because Alan is traveling this month. He is in Ireland. He's been all over the place. So he will be back in August, but we will be doing the balance of the Thursdays. Alan will do the one. So we're just paying it forward. So you don't have to explain it. Go to redoxmatters.com and grab this video and send it to someone. Just go to discoverredox.com. There's a ton of tools there that explain everything that we have. Well, Kathy, thank you.
You're wonderful.
It's awesome. Yeah, we love having you. I'm so glad that Ed and Rebecca recommended you. We'll definitely love having you back. And Dr. Osler, the best as always. Get his books. Go to redoxmatters.com. If you want the knowledge, if you want it, if you're deep into the science, go to the video tab. He's got Dr. Dick Walker and him and Maureen and others explaining the deep science. They'll go as deep as you want. Just be like Kathy said, and Maureen, I think, whoever, you have to be open-minded. Open-minded to the possibilities that there really is something out here that can do this. It will change your life. And if you want the finances as well, go for it. So, guys, we will be back next Thursday.
Yep.
We will have Russell Mariani, who is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to your gut and brain health. I don't understand all that, but we'll be talking about that next Thursday.
Good.
So, guys, thank you. This recording will be up at redoxmatters.com within about an hour or so. So, thank you so much. Bring other people back. Let us do the explaining, not you. Thank y'all. God bless.
Thanks. Happy 4th.
Bye-bye.
Happy 4th,
Love you guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Kathy.
Bye-bye.
Thank y'all.
Bye.